Welcome to this impromptu live stream. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat. I just wanted to test something out on AI and thought I should just live stream it to see how that goes. So I'm going to test out. I'm going to test to see how. Let me see if I can share an image here. How good are AI Sauna book recommendations? So AI is getting better and better, maybe. But we'll see how well it does and I'll compare my answers to AI's answers. I have just one update is I have an episode that I'm working on where Hudson and Daniel join me and we look at some saunas in the UP, and they're all kind of different and unique. And so that was a fun episode. That one's going to be fun to edit and put out, and just to hear their thoughts on the different builds, what they think is good or what could be better. So I'm going to go ahead and try and share my screen here, and we'll just get right into it. We'll see how good the AI book recommendations are. Maybe I can just do it here. All right. So I'm using ChatGPT, and I'm on the thinking version, so it's kind of slow. And let me make sure I can still see the chat here. So the first thing I'm going to ask it is, I'm going to ask it, let's see, what are the best what are your best sauna book recommendations for people that want to. Someone just asked about this recently in a group I'm in, and I thought it was a good question. So we'll see what it says. Want to learn the details on how to sauna like a Finn. I don't know how many to ask for. We'll see. I'm going to say not more than 5. Not more than 5. And I'm not sure what I would say for this one. I kind of want to answer it before it answers. Let me just. Is my audio and video good? Audio Yeti. Okay, we're good. So what would I recommend? I mean, this is kind of actually this is a tricky question. It's kind of a hole in the sauna book world or market on how to sauna. I'm going to go with maybe one of the founders of the Finnish Sauna Society, H.J. Viherjuri's book, The Finnish Sauna. That's a good one. It describes it somewhat. I'm trying to remember if the opposite of cold gets into it. I don't know if it gets into so much how to sauna. So, other books written by Finns. Bernard Hilala's The Sauna Is. That should be a decent one for that. So those are a couple. I'm just gonna let it chew on it here. So we'll see. It might take a few minutes. And then I'm trying to think. I'm just looking at my bookshelf right now to see if there's any other books that pop out on how to sauna. It's going to be books that have introductory chapters on, hey, what is this Finnish sauna thing? Um, honestly, it's not exactly Finnish sauna, but with light steam about banya. He goes into some details about how they're curating the steam in the hot room. That's a little bit different than the finished practice, though, as far as I'm aware. So here's the Vihir Yuri book. I don't know if it's coming through. Um, it might be from the 60s. And this has a foreword by Cecil Ellis, and the foreword's pretty good. So if you can track down the version that has the foreword by Cecil Ellis, he was one of the early sauna entrepreneurs in the United States, and he had a Finnish wife. That's how he learned about sauna. So you can still see this thinking version is still chewing on things. It says it's finalizing its citations. So I guess I had a few minutes that I could have been thinking about my answer. All right. So it gave Lassi Liikkanen's The Secrets of Finnish Sauna Design. I have to check the intro chapters on that one. I think that's mostly about building, but I'm sure it talks some about, yeah, and even talks about the construction here. Um, I'm not even. So this must be a book from Sauna from Finland organization. Rob Roy's, that would be a good one. He's not a Finn, but he wrote a couple. He wrote a sauna book and had a second edition. Yeah, so that's not bad. There we go. Number four. They got Vihar Yuri right there. And then number five. Okay, so this one, that one I have here somewhere. That's a sauna construction book put out by a Finnish. Um, yeah, and it says it's a technical reference. I'm gonna say any others that focus more on the practice. Yeah, so that one is more on the construction side. Let me pull out one of the versions of that. So this guy here, and it's not very thick, but it has a lot of good technical detail. This one's probably also a decent one. It came out in the 60s, one of the earliest English language ones. And I'm just trying to see the first few chapters if it talks about how to sauna. A lot of these talk about like why to sauna, that it's for relaxation or health, but they don't necessarily get into the detail of how to sauna. So this has how to build the right atmosphere. Yeah, it has the benefits. I'm not really seeing tons about how to get into it in this book by Saul Chalmers Olin. He was a journalist maybe from Ohio. It's a super interesting book, but maybe not so much on the practice side. All right, so it's still looking through stuff, just seeing where it's getting its Goodreads and Abe books. That's interesting. All right. So you can see this thinking AI is very slow. So we'll probably just have time to ask it a few questions. M.O. Kelly's The Power Sauna, The Power of Deep Heat. Um, Katja Pansar's and Karita Haryu's The Power of Hot and Cold. I think they're involved with Sauna from Finland. Mikkel's book Sweat. Um, so again, he gets into some. So the Finnish chapter says that it has a using the sauna section, and he mentioned the opposite of cold. That mentioned the opposite of cold. So it did okay. I would give a few decent options. It got the Vihir Yuri book, which was good. I'll give it a B. Now I'm going to say which books would be best for understanding the Finnish motivation and mindset for sauna. Finnish or Finnish American authors only. So now I'm going from practice to getting into like the Finnish mindset. All right. So it's going to go through this for a little bit. Now, for this one I'm going to put Vihir Yuri's book. Be very good for that. Um The Opposite of Cold actually does a good job. And then there was a Finnish American author, Bernard Hilala, who in I believe it was 79. Let me just check the date on this. Put out this book called The Sauna Is. And then it was reprinted, I think in the 80s. And then there's another version somewhat recently. Um so maybe it's listening to me. Okay, it puts this as the number one book is the Bernard Hilala book. Um and there's a new version. It has a white cover and then a digital copy. So that's a good one. Now, I don't know if I have Karita's book. I'll have to look to see if I have that. That might be a good one to look into. Looks like this one maybe is in Finnish, also by Karita. Vihar Yuri's book, and then Lossie's book. Now, again, Lossie's is more of a design book. Um, I'm gonna probe a little bit more. So this is pretty good. I would give this an A minus. Um, and there's a few of these I haven't seen before, but and then one's a more of a sounded build and design book. Um, but that's pretty good. I'm gonna say, what about for sauna stories? What about for Finnish sauna stories? So, and stories are a great way actually to understand something. If you just sit around listening to people talk about their culture, you're going to pick up all kinds of little details. So, the best book for that would be, let me grab it. This one right here, Sweating with Fins. So I think I've talked about this on other episodes. This was put out in Canada, and it's basically just full of stories. So that's a good one. And then there was a Finnish book. It's kind of like the opposite of cold. Again, I would probably also recommend the opposite of cold for this category. Let me grab that Finnish book. So this one's called The World of Sauna by Kai Bremer, I think is how you pronounce his name. And so it's full of a lot of good photos and culture. So it's a very nice book. I think here's a sauna at a hunting camp. So that would be probably one I would recommend. But it got the number one right. The sauna is well, it's kind of finishing up for the sauna stories. Just wanted to mention that I'm planning on doing a we're planning on doing a sauna book club, and we're actually going to go through Bernard's book, The Sauna Is, just as a way to, in the midst of all the sauna excitement these days, to kind of tap into that Finnish mindset. So I can show you there. So there's the book club. Trying to pick dates for this, but we'll be going through Hilala's book, which I think is 12 chapters, and they're pretty short chapters, just a few pages. It's very well written, but it's an easy read. So we'll probably do maybe 3 chapters at a time and just do that over 4 weeks. So stay tuned for that. And then let's see what it's had to say. Okay, so I don't know what this is. You may not want to read that. Some of these stories, I don't know. And some of these are in Finnish. But I guess when you start searching for sauna stories, you have to be careful of what you get. But it does mention the opposite of cold. So I'm going to now let's ask it about design real quick and just kind of wrap it up. Which books are best for learning about sauna design from a technical and architectural perspective? So this one's pretty easy. It's already mentioned Lossie's book, The Secrets of Sauna Design, so I would do that one. I would also do the one from the Finnish Sauna Building Society. Um, and then the final one is there's one by a South African architect. Um, Let me grab that. Okay. So Alan Konya. It's kind of fuzzy, but it's the International Handbook of Finnish Sauna. So, and this one's really good. It's pretty good size. So yeah, it's got Lossie's book. It's got the how would you pronounce that in Finnish? Raken rak, Rakenustieto. I don't know. I butchered that. Rakenustieto. Anyway, someone can correct me in the comments. And then Rob Roy's, and then it mentioned Glenn's also, Glenn from Sauna Times, and I think he just published a hardcover version. I'm gonna ask it any others because I was hoping it would get the one from Alan Konya. His is one of the better ones. So we'll see. We'll see if it gets his. All right, it's still searching. I'm trying to think of any other categories I could ask it. If I had more people in the live stream, I could ask you. You could recommend some topics I should ask it. Um, I mean, I could ask it about medical things, which are the best medical books. There's a there's a book that was published, I think, in the 70s. They had a Sauna Congress, and that one has some medical stuff and cultural stuff. They published the papers. Okay, there we go. So this is a trick with AIs. You have to just keep asking it. Any others? Any more? So there's Alan's book, and then there's Pertti Jalacia's The Art of Sauna Building. Now that one has been reprinted a lot, and that one's been very popular if you look online. And then Tom Johnson and Tim Miller's The Sauna Book. Let me grab that. So it's this guy here, this green one. So it's good. It pulled out a few more. And then it mentions the Savu Sauna book. If you want two from this batch, it says Konya and Yalasya. Yeah, which is good. That's kind of what I would pick out from there. Probably my ranking of those would be probably Lossie's, and Lossie does actually pull from Alan's book somewhat, I think. Then I would do Alan's book if you can track down a copy or get an interlibrary loan. Then probably this one from the Finnish Sauna Building Society. Um, those would probably be my top ones. Otherwise, just looking at books, you can learn a lot and asking questions online. Um, yeah. So that's it. I'll probably wrap it up. It's been going 25 minutes. Just one last reminder about the book club. Just watch our social media or the Sauna Trail website. I'll put a page up where you can sign up, and then we'll just do a video discussion. I guess if people want it live streamed, it could be live streamed, or we could have it be a private video. It doesn't really matter much either way. So thank you for joining for this impromptu live stream, and we'll see you later.